My name is William Alonso Marcelo Urbina. I live in Cucuta. Uh, I'm from Arboledas.
Thanks. Next, next partner,
Jeilen.
Eileen.
Hello, classmates. My name is Daniela Martinez. I live in Cucuta. And actually, I carry a foreign language.
Okay, thanks. Yamileth.
My name is Yamileth. My name is Yamileth Rincon. I'm from Cucuta and I live in Villa Rosario. And I study foreign languages with emphasis in English.
Okay, thanks. Daniela.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Daniela Gonzalez. I'm from Arauca, but I live in Cucuta in San Faustino's Farm. I am 24 years old. I am studying foreign languages at University UNAT. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, partner, my name is Albert Rubio. It's a pleasure to see you, and it's all for that work or homework. And thanks for all. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Albert Rubio. It's a pleasure to see you, and I'm very proud to have this conversation with you about something that divided the history of the United States in two, at least in terms of security and conspiracies, although they have almost always been part of the history. 19 years have passed since the September 11 attacks, but are still many unresolved questions and conspiracy theories continue to sound loud. A telephone survey conducted by an American firm for a BBC television series in 2011 found that 15% of Americans surveyed are convinced that the U.S. government, then led by George Bush, was involved in the attacks on the Twin Tower in New York. Now, today we are talking about the Twin Tower and the things that are apparently behind the attacks. Well, partner, the first question, could the U.S. Air Force have prevented the attack? What do you think?
Could the United States Air Force had avoided the attacks? According to NBC News, there are many opinions about this fact, but according to official reports and according to NBC magazine, this were the reason we cannot avoid these terrorists even in the video tell us almost always about the dirty gain of the United States, but also could be this version that this magazine tell us. The opinion was the terrorist kidnappings were essentially political acts not necessary. The truth, the hijackers were speed to order the plane to fly to destination or land in and negotiated the release of their hostage. Kidnapping in the United States were a problem for the police, not military. The issue Boston flights that arrived at the World Trade Center, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175 were the first to take off and the first to be hijacked. According to the NORAD timeline, the FAA informed NORAD of the kidnapping at 8:40 a.m. and the 8:43 a.m. respectively flight 11 hitting the North Tower a few minutes later. At 8:05 shoot and shoot F-15 Eagle fighter short skewer from the Air National Guard base at Otis, Massachusetts. Too late and too far away to have any hot or reaching a flight 175 which hit the tower zone 10 minutes later. Around this time at A55 and American Airlines Flight 77 fly from Washington Lakes X Fly Road. The hijacker turned off the aircraft transponder and stopped sending that to air traffic controllers. The FAA lost radar contact with the plane. It is at this point that family members on family members side that the FAA and NORAD could have responded differently. They had 45 minutes until the plane hit the Pentagon. By then, the American skies were in chaos. At one time, the FAA was tracking 11 planes that it afraid might have been hijacked, said Laura Brown, a spokeswoman woman for the agency Air Force fired shoot off from an army base and someone raised the idea of using one of them to run a hijacked plane. Even so, Shu-Evan Wall had been required to prevent the Pentagon attack. First, President Bush should have ordered that any hijacked plane be shot down. That military combat really did not allow that we could choose presidential intersection, but finally make the call, but only after the Pentagon was hit. Second, the NORAD F-16 Falcon at Langley Air Force Base near Norfolk, Virginia MOX had been launched early. We, they were not clear. According to Ninora timeline, those fire reside the randomization order at 9:24 and 30 minutes after Flight 77 made in authorized tour that suggests that the FAA to unspeakable long time to alert NORAD, but Jane Gary for a hit of the Federal Aviation Administration says she had informed NORAD early in a poll call. Retired Major General Riley K. Arnold, who was in charge of the National Air Defense on the day of the attacks, said it was physically possible that the fighter planes had hit the civil aircraft to Pentagon if they had been activated before. No other decision was made nor a did not launch all available fighters, even when it became clear that multiple suicide kidnapping had occurred. It is inexplicable why they did not get air protection in time to thwart that crash. Brickweiser said. He also asked why the F-56 sent to New York were not sent after Flight 77. Okay, classmate.
Okay, William, thanks. Well, jailen, repeat the question for you. Uh, could the U.S. Air Force have prevented the attacks? What do you think?
Hello, classmates. The answer to the pure questions. Yes, the result of the attacks could have been avoided or at least diminished. It cannot be said exactly whether the air defense attacked accidentally or intentionally. Although they lost communication with the planes, they were still being intercepted by the radar at the time, and all these actions were alerted to those changes. But their inefficiency showed seemed to be due to the large number of military exercises that were being excused. They we also see other facts that left the Air Force vulnerable to a prompt response. Facts like the security of the computer system have been reduced. There were fake military exercises where a large number of combats there were transferred out of the planes. There were no planes to defend the country, and thus achieved great confusion in the system when the planes were hijacked and burned. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, partner. Well, Yamileth, for you, the question, could the US Air Force they have been prevented the attacks? What do you think?
Hi, classmen. I could so many conspiracy theories attribute the planning and execution of the 11th September attacks against the United States, where many researchers and different analysts say the Spanish government have knowledge of attack and deliberately ignore or help attackers.
Okay, thanks. Well, Daniela, what do you think?
Hello, guys. Yes, I consider that the United States has protocols to act in the event of any terror. And Osama bin Laden in August 1996 declared war on the United States. He warned that they would be stormed against. The U.S. had prepared not to give importance to the fact that the Saudi could be a threat to the most powerful country in history.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Well,
you.
partner, my opinion. Well, my opinion, perhaps the attacks on the Twin Towers could have been avoided, but analyzing the videos, it is discovered that although the flight controllers had constant contact with the military, there was little or almost no reaction, although there is an official version that says the terrorists turned off the transporter or device that emit the signal that determine the exact location of the plane, and that is was very difficult to intercept them. Well, partner, the second question: were the twin towers deliberately demolished by explosives? What do you think, William?
Okay. Uh, in short, the video if they were demolished by the explosive. This fact is confirmed by multiple reasons that guy is exemplify explanation of the event that led of the towers falling so the village lit. Without an eye in the cross would have been impossible for them to have gone free all. It also explains the high temperatures that last week below the zero zone, that 45 degrees cut in the beams, the report speed of synchronous explosion. Here by the winds, the time skid are the same used in demolition construction, the vaporization of everything contained in the building. According to the same engineer who will the towers, excited that it was impossible for a plane to tear down the towers that sun lane if the full was given away. Hundreds of people would did, but once the welding material was consumed, it structured will be there that the only way to that the welding fee was by the action of explosives. Okay, friend, thanks.
Okay, thanks, William. Well, Jalen, what do you think about the two questions?
Okay, there is sufficient evidence to indicate that the buildings were demolished by controlled explosions. There are testimonies of people present at the event of September 11, giving their experience when listening to detonation at different times with the facilities of both twin towers. Videos were also viewed from different points of view, giving valid arguments of the facts that led to this idea. Opinions were given from different experts and sightings, who could verify and give exciting opinions seeking an answer on what demolished the Twin Towers. And while this evidence denies information from other sources and ensures that it was controlled explosions that reached the fall of the two towers and were not the impact of the aircraft, nor the amount of fuel that was part of the fire. Okay, classmate.
Okay, thanks, jeilen. Well, Yamileth, what do you think? The second question.
Is according to the documentary, there were many speculations and divided opinions between the National Institute of Standard and Technology, by which was officially commissioned by the U.S. government to investigate events of the three skyscrapers, the architects and engineer for the truth of 9/11, an association of professionals in civil constructions, about the true reason that could have caused the collapse and terrorist attack, the Twin Towers on 11 September 2001. One of the best guess is since the controlled demolitions, the only justifiable cause because of the structure was able to support three to three to five times is way which about the engineer. This building was strong enough to withstand fire among other situations in comparison than the conventional buildings.
Okay, thanks. Well, Yamilet, Daniela, what do you think?
Maybe. I think they were demolished by the planes that crashed into them and additionally helped their demolition by explosive for highlight how quickly the buildings collapsed. It is very strange that the FBI confiscated the videos of the nearby security cameras and the images they published were not clear. Also, remains were found after meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, my opinion, well, partner, my opinion is also the planes collide with the twin towers. They didn't cause them to fall. It was a controlled demolition, and to prove this argument, some theories highlight how quickly the building collapsed. In addition, short life for such as the second tower that is lasted 56 minutes and that of the first tower that lasted 102 seconds. According to experts, this was not enough time for a building to fall. In addition, there were sounds of explosion that were recorded before the collapse. There is also the official version that concludes that the airplanes deteriorated the columns that supported the buildings and caused that some insulation in charge of preventing the fire from spreading were realized. It also indicates that the large amount of airplanes gasoline that was watered by several floors was the one that created temperature of up to 1000 degrees Celsius that sinks the floors and folded some columns generating the sounds that people heard as explosion. Well, partner, the third question for all, were some people forewarned about the attacks? What do you think, William? The audio, William. William?
Sorry, sorry. Uh, the first his Dr. Morgan Reynolds was a member of the economic team of the Bush administration, in charge of serving the Minister of Labor during the first presidential term. He also served as director of the Criminal Justice Center at the National Center for Political Analysis in Dallas, Texas, and is professor emeritus of economy at Texas A&M University. Morgan Reynolds is the highest-ranking public leader who has dared to criticize the official explanation of what happened on 9/11, saying that the official version was false and that most likely to fail of the WDC was caused by a controlled demolition. Professor Morgan Reynolds is not expressing only one opinion and referred to reports from other experts. He published a detailed analysis of the attacks of September 11, 2001 in New York on June 12, 2005. Paul Craig Robert has expressed his doubt about the official history of 9/11 based on the fact that the news manipulator engineers and scientists who demonstrate that the WDC colleagues do the explosive sharing. In fact, if you look careful at the way that towers feel, even my mother thought this exactly an exercise it looked like a demolition. Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, Yamileth, jailen, please. What do you think?
Okay, some people knew about the attacks and others were warned to inform them of the situation. The evidence was there. Before the day of the attack, many in the intelligence community knew about the attacks, and important information about the terrorist Richard Clare was hearing how could be organized an attack against the Jews. Several testimonies, such as that of Congressman Kurt Whelan and writing notes by FBI agent Colin Rowley, discovers information about the attacks, but this information never went from their superiors to investigate. Okay,
Okay, thanks, jailen. Yamileth, what do you think?
According to the documentary, no workers of the World Trade Center was notified about the controlled demolition, and when the unfortunate was taking place where were, were more than 3,000 people lost their lives, among whom were firefighters, police, and maybe people of different nationalities, which had a tragic ending.
Okay, thanks, Yamileth. Daniela, please, what do you think?
Okay, of course, there were people from the government commanders who knew what was going to happen on September 11, and so there were no acting within the chains of command, and they did nothing to counter the attacks, such as General Richard Myers, General Henry Shelton, Mike Canavan, General Larry Arnold. These people contribute to the attack by actions with other militaries not to intercept the aircraft, and inexperienced who inexplicably act negligently and were promoted to charge and with other militaries not to intercept the aircraft. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Daniela. Well, my opinion for the third question is the CIA always had information about Arabs who were attending flight academies to fly small planes and never didn't or did anything. And after the terrorist attacks, they reported that they had never been informed of any attacks of the U.S. At the time of the attacks, the president of that time, George Bush was warned as well as the great military and political leaders, but it was the vice president of that time, Dick Cheney, who ordered the military don't intercept the aircraft. Well, partners, the fourth question. Was the Pentagon really hit by an airplane? What do you think, William? William, the audio.
Okay, partner. Uh, my opinion, according for question. According to the Pentagon report, the plane disintegrated when I crashed into the wall of the building. The facade of the building, 2 4 meters high, was affair on the first floor. That means the plane should have descended the ground level at the time. In the crash, the funny thing is that it did not damage the grass or the wall or the post or the parking lot. Mason suspect more at this point. The plane crashed right into an area under repair although many days. Almost all the 2 3,000 workers on the entity were set at 10, 10 or 10, the fourth floor. Crumbling and sometimes was evident. There were two remains and the fuselage of the plane. The 90-meter space that open is less than the 3.8-meter point, and the winds in only the nose penetrate. We don't know you use remains of the airplane after the accident. Unofficial witnesses claim to have seen a small plane at high speed. Security cameras did not see it. The Pentagon first press report did not tell about airplanes. The theory appeared half an hour later. The Dallas Airport Air Control saw an object moving at 800 km/h on the radar by his trajectory. He deduced that it was a military plane. Mason concludes that what the Pentagon really penetrated was a last generation AGM Tay missile equipped with a hollow load and uranium tipped. The device looked like a small civil aircraft and emitted a whistle similar to that of a fighter. At Higgins, he had shot to hide the molestation of the passenger plane. Mason did not stay in his boat. The terrible imposture that his version is the final boat hit dogs hand and son arrest rescat to contradict two requests made to the press by the White House not to inquire further so as not to harm national security and addiction his made doubt. Okay, partner.
Well, thanks, William. Well, Jailen, what do you think about that question?
The Pentagon as hit by a plane, but let's ask the more specific question. Was the Pentagon really hit by plane 77? The plane did not leave debris, in which they say that it was evident that plane 77 in the Pentagon as the discreditors said that most of them were inside the university. Also, the testimonies of the expert and scientists say that the angle of fall and the weight of the project wingspan of the facade of the hit plane is more than that of the hijack plane. So this leaves many doubts and questions about which plane is the Pentagon.
Okay, thanks, Jailen. Yamileth, what do you think about the question?
There are many opinions about it, but one of the most prominent beliefs is that the Pentagon was hit by a missile launched by elements within the US government or the commercial aircraft was able to do so through an effective withdrawal. Although some detractors refute those affirmations, such as the civil engineer Professor Mete Susen, among others experts. Moreover, it should be stressed that not yet there are no absolute truth.
Okay, thanks, Yamilet. Daniela, what do you think?
No, I think it was a mistake because the whole met in the Pentagon of least 5 meters. It's not related to a crash on the Boeing plane. Not many remains of the work plane were found around the Pentagon, and the images are not clear. I think the Pentagon attack was a self-attack.
Okay, thanks. Well, partner, my opinion about the fourth question, it has always been said that a Boeing 757 was the one that hit the Pentagon the same day of the terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers. But there are several theories about whether it was a small plane, a self-attack with a missile, or a military plane, since not many remains of the cricket plane were found around the Pentagon, but since the test showed that it was a commercial aircraft, the theory focused on questioning the pilot's maneuver and arguing that it was not a terrorist pilot but the Pentagon itself. Well, the only camera that had evidence of the attack showed only a fireball but not the crashing plane. In addition, the FBI confiscate all the cameras of the surrounding business, but in the end, the evidence is not very clear. So far, some people, the Pentagon attacks was a self-attack. The remains of the people who died that day were identified through DNA. Well, partner, the five question. Could the attacks have been prevented? What do you think, William?
Okay, partner. Uh, Vinny argues that human behavior is mathematically predictable, and the 1997 are working for the INSEE. He began research on the internet, convinced that terrorists used the network to communicate. Only 4 years before the first attack against the World Trade Center had occurred, together with a small team, he developed Threat, a perfect surveillance program which used metadata and was perfect to know invade and join privacy. Side F most was a combination of greed, arrogance, and lack of professional according to being in the hind. It was not about progress, but about money and the meaning the attack in Madrid or London to place without taking any action to improve experiences.
Okay, thanks, William.
Okay.
Well, Daily, what do you think?
And as I said earlier, there were witnesses and testimonies about possible attacks on the use, such as that of Congressman Kurt Whelan and the writing notes of FBI agent Colin Rowley. Additionally, Time magazine reported on September 10, 21, a military plane to attack Afghanistan had been placed in George Bush's desk to be signed by the president upon his return from Florida.
Okay,
There was evidence to be alert to any attack and to organize a defense to avoid or reduce attacks. Thanks.
thanks, Jailen. Yamilet, what do you think about the five question?
One of the On the one hand, there are those who say that the CIA didn't notice obvious warning signs. On the other, those who argue that it's noticeably difficult to identify threat in advance and that the U.S. agency did everything that was reasonable possible.
Okay, thanks. Daniela, what do you think?
Definitely yes, because the United States owed infiltrative to Osama bin Laden and being aware of his plans. In addition, on September 11, the U.S. acted negligently against the attack and additionally had the majority of airplanes in an exercise of war simulation that helped to confuse to air traffic controllers about the attack.
Okay, thanks, Daniela. My opinion about that question, maybe if they had paid attention to one of the CIA agents who had reported on Arab people who were learning to fly planes in academies and were only interested in takeoff, or if they had paid attention to one of the consul of one of Arab countries that had warned that they were providing operating documents to terrorists there, or if the Air Force had acted more quickly when flight controllers warned of the loss or hijacking of commercial airplanes on September 11. Well, the sixth question for all: was Osama bin Laden really captured and killed? What do you think, William?
Okay, reading external documents decide that Bin Laden was never in the mountains. He was always detained, that the country isolated him on condition that he not be alleged so that he would not involve then with other terrorist events. Burak bin Laden, he also collaborated with the CIA and the FB, who also had no confirmation of facts against these terrorists. Okay, flatmate.
Okay, thanks, William. Jailen, what do you think?
Osama bin Laden was responsible for numerous terrorist attacks against the United States and other Western powers until the time of his death. The FBI had bin Laden indicted for the different attacks. For a long time, part of the international public opinion affirmed the possibility that Osama bin Laden could have been dead for several years, something that was clearly denied by the terrorist group Al-Qaeda, where it was said that bin Laden was still alive but isolated. On May 1, 2011, United States President Barack Obama officially announced the death of bin Laden, following a military operation carried out by U.S. commands at a residence outside Abbottabad, Pakistan.
Okay, thanks, Jailen. Well, Jamile, what do you think about that question?
About two other sources of information, Osama bin Laden most shares following terrorist attack on the September 11, which was killed later of Al Qaeda terrorists responsible of the murder of thousands of innocent citizens thanks to military operations organized by the US in the area of Pakistan, capital Islamabad, that and a share that has less almost to 10 years.
Okay, thanks. Daniela, what do you think about that question?
Um, yes. Also, it was not only the state of the United States, but there was also cooperation from a Pakistan intelligence agent who gave them the information of the location of Osama bin Laden in exchange for money. But the CIA and the FBI never had strong evidence if Osama bin Laden was dead.
Okay, thanks. Well, my opinion that question about that question is he has always been in doubt if Osama bin Laden was really killed since he always had contacts with the CIA and other entities of the US government, in addition to the CIA and the FBI, never had strong evidence if Osama bin Laden was behind the September 11 attacks. Well, partner, for the last question, the question number 7, was
Yes.
September 11 Okay, was September 11 or 9/11 caused by the American government on purpose? What do you think, William?
Okay, thank you, classmate. Damage to facilitate that key documentation of facts, of corruption, and other possibilities of attacking of Arab countries, Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay, classmate, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, Jailen, what do you think about that question?
It's known that widespread fear throughout the war was suicide bombings of hijacked commercial airplanes and hitting targets such as the Twin Towers and the Pentagon that killed thousands of people. But the action of the US government, it leaves as with many concerns to see its inefficiency and slowness in responding to attacks. And other questions such as why the government hides evidence by going deeper and searching for answers or in the absence of solutions to many witnesses and testimonies about controlled detonation with the facilities of the Twin Towers and many other questions. Okay,
Thanks, Jailen. Yamileth, what do you think about that question?
It appears that wasn't a terrorist attack. Like initially, everyone do. After was many conspiracy theories, where some people advertised that probably this was a concept of auto attack organized by the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. There was a lot of inconsistency on the facts occurred.
Okay, thanks. Daniela, what do you think?
Yes, they could have avoided tragedy, but they should do nothing to start a war against Iraq.
Okay, thanks. Well, my opinion. Well, it seems that the terrorist attacks were carried out by the highest level of intelligence in United States, and it seems that they used Tower 7 as a command where they had device and documentation that claimed interception and therefore was demolished minutes later to destroy all evidence. In addition, in Building 7, big companies that investigate corruption codes were operating, and that is why it was destroyed in a controlled way after the fall of the Twin Towers, also assuming that in these columns, their columns were destroyed during the fire to demolish them, since the Twin Tower they could withstand the crash of any aircraft. The later, according to one of the tower's construction managers, maybe yes. Well, partner, it was a pleasure to have been talking with you for a few minutes. I wish you all a good weekend and see you at another opportunity. Bye. See you.
Bye bye.
Okay,
Thank you.